how to turn leads into paying customers, what sales principles to follow, and how I personally maximize sales. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erkka Suvanto. Many of you call me EJ. I'm the guy who's on social media, building a legacy and passing on all life and business lessons to each and every one of you. I have built 3 companies up to 5 million all by myself, making all the possible mistakes so that you don't have to go through the same headache. Now I'm here on YouTube talking about those headaches. Today's video is all about how to turn leads into customers and how to maximize sales based on my personal learnings. This video is about 2 parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about those 4 principles that I have learned. And in the second part, I'm going to use one of my clients' use case as an example, how we have turned that customer's offer and sales process into something that takes the customer's needs better into consideration. So let's get started. Principle number 1. You can solve almost every problem by talking to your customers. If we think about how the process works, let's say I'm a starting entrepreneur and I want to start a business. Usually it goes pretty much like this. I identify a problem out there in the marketplace, and the next step is that I try to solve it. So far, so good. There's an issue, people suffer from it, they struggle with something, and me as an entrepreneur, I come up with the solution. This is pretty much the same as talking to your customer, putting yourself in the customer's shoes. Usually after that, the starting entrepreneurs, and sometimes us experienced ones too, we make the mistake of not continuing with that process, but we start looking at the market and the competition in particular, and the way it looks is roughly like this. So if this is your price point in the marketplace, high, mid, and low, and usually, as we know, here in the middle is where all the volume is. And this is to us the most attractive volume because margins might be too low here in the low categories. And then we start thinking, okay, since we don't have any experience yet, we don't really know how the product would perform in the marketplace, we start looking at what everybody else does. And it ends up being more for less, which is extremely dangerous. More for less means a little cheaper than the average and offering a little more. And this results in a situation where our margins get squeezed and we don't really have anything unique to offer. So what's the solution is the question. The solution is that we keep identifying what the customer needs. If you already have a business, as the principle number 1 says, you can solve almost every problem by talking to the customers. And it's not copying directly what the customer says they want. If I talk to my construction business customers, the ones who buy a house from me, for instance, and if I ask them, do you need air conditioning? Do you need a garage? Do you need this or do you need that for your property? Of course, people say yes. The 2 questions that I like to ask are these. Number 1, if you got to keep only one feature related to the product that you just purchased from me, which one would it be? So you get to keep one. And the second question, if you had to get rid of one right now, but you get to keep everything else, all the other features, which one would you get rid of? These 2 questions tell you what the most valuable feature is and what is the least valuable feature. And this gives you an idea. When you repeat this process many times, you start to get an idea. But I can speak from experience. Personally, when you have customers who are not really happy with your product, whether it's quality, pricing, or whatever the issue is, it's super hard for us entrepreneurs to pick up the phone. And this sounds like a no-brainer, but actually implementing that in real life and systematically talking to people, having a process in place and collecting feedback and taking that feedback and the right feedback from those conversations, tuning out all the emotions and just looking at rationally what are the issues that these people are dealing with, coming up with the follow-up questions like these 2, that's the hard part, because we often, whether we like it or not, we neglect those hard conversations. So principle number 1, you can solve almost every problem by talking to your customers. Don't get sidetracked when it comes to what the competition does. That's very tempting. This is the shiny object syndrome. What does everybody else do? And I think one of the biggest reasons why we heavily lean towards this is that we don't have a clue in the beginning. Sometimes we don't have a clue when we have been running our business for a year or two, but we need to make sure that we have a clue. And by asking the right questions, talking to the customers, we get there. And this ultimately leads to product improvement, service improvement, and then higher conversion rate and more sales. Sales principle number 2 on how to turn leads into paying customers. Proof over promise. If you think about it, when we start, there are no customer testimonials. There are no 5-star reviews. Nobody has bought from us before. To me, the most important question here is, how do I expedite this process or shorten this process from start to the time when I start to have proof and enough of it? I want to shorten this time. And there are several ways how we can do that. We collect testimonials as fast as possible when people are happy, reviews. We work for free, so we give people no reason not to work with us, so that we shorten this time and say, hey, look, let's see if I can add value. And if I do, please give me feedback. Please give me a testimonial that I can use in my marketing. Data to support the benefits. If you have a customer already who started using your product, collect the data and see how much their work improved. What's the productivity increase as a result of your product or service? I will get back to this in more detail in the second part of the video today, where I'm going to go through one case with my client right now as far as what we are doing in running that business and what I'm doing to help this person to grow his software as a service company. But these are the key things. Proof over promise. So we don't want to have those empty promises. We want to have proof. Because if you think about it, let's say I'm selling t-shirts on Amazon. I'm a starting entrepreneur. Nobody has bought from me before. My t-shirt costs $19. And there's a other guy out there who's been doing it for several years. And there are 10,000 5-star reviews. The price is the same. Or even if the price is $5 or $10 higher, what do you think? Who are people going to buy from? Me or from this other guy? Of course, the one that has proof. Because proof is already what you need for marketing. There's really not that much more. The 5-star review and the testimonials say everything about the product. So that's why the key is to collect feedback and make sure that we shorten this time between the start and the time until we start to have that proof that shows how good we are. Of course, our product needs to back it up too, or our service, but that's a different discussion, assuming now we know what we are doing. And by the way, work for free. If you have been watching my videos, my business coaching career, this is exactly how I start. This is exactly how I started every single business in my life. I work for free and I show people that I can add value. And if they agree with me, down the road, they start paying. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm trying to shorten the time between the two data points here. Principle number 3, you sell the vacation, not the trip. I was thinking I could use 2 examples here. Travel agency and a video editing software as an example to bring this home so that you understand what I mean. When it comes to a travel agency, let's say I want to sell Hawaii, Maui vacations to people. I'm not highlighting the trip, but I'm highlighting the vacation. Ultimately, what it boils down to is that people want to see what they're going to do in Maui, not about the airport, not about the airline or the plane itself, or about the line at the car rental company. These are all, there might be some unique features here about how short the line is at the security and what kind of a plane there is and all of that. People still know that this is something that they have to deal with in order to get here. So when it comes to vacation, we want to sell the image of somebody sipping margaritas by the pool and enjoying their time with their kids or with their loved ones in that dream destination. So that's what it means that we sell the vacation and not the trip. And oftentimes where we go wrong as entrepreneurs when we put together the offer and try to convert our prospects and leads to paying customers is that we highlight the features, how nice the new airport is, and how much space there is between aisles and seats and whatnot on the plane, or how short the security line is, like I mentioned, or what about the car rental company? Their fleet is cool and all new, brand new cars. But it's nothing compared to what the vacation looks like. What is that I can do in Maui, in Hawaii, and what my feelings are when I get there? That's what it boils down to. Same thing here. Let's say I'm gonna do a video editing or starting a video editing business. Like, this is actually pretty relevant to me. So I'm using different video editing softwares for my YouTube videos, the longs and the shorts that I'm doing. So the so-called trip part here would be for me to highlight about storage, about speed, how many gigs and how many megs and all of that stuff, and how many cool new features there are. But it doesn't really matter, at least to me. I don't really care. I don't really understand too much about it. But what it boils down to is the productivity. If somebody tells me that, look, based on our data, your productivity goes up by 50% when you start using my video editing software, I know immediately that this is what I'm after, because I don't want to use 3 different editing software tools. I just want to have all in one. And what is the benefit of using 1 versus 3? I don't care about the features. I want to make sure that my productivity goes up. And ultimately, I'm paying for time and convenience. Because time and convenience is the same as the vacation. It's not the features. So if you think about it, next time when you put together your offer and you try to maximize your sales, ask yourself, am I selling the vacation or just the trip? Meaning the features or the benefit. Principle number 4, reduce friction, make it more simple. Simple is beautiful. Saying no and making your product more intuitive, more simple, faster, more convenient is the hard thing, because it requires us to say no. Believe it or not, but making our product or life overall more complex is much, much easier than simplifying it. Ask yourself, what did I say no to? Instead of adding features, which ones did I get rid of? Have kids used our product? Steve Jobs famously had kids or children test Apple products to make sure that their user interface was intuitive and easy to use. How to simplify it. Like the old saying goes, if you can't explain your business concept to your 10-year-old in 1 minute, it's way too complex. How can I make it more simple, easier, and faster? FedEx started with the simple value proposition. How can I do what the United States Postal Service does, but doing it with half the time? Speed is basically, and still, according to my understanding, is their number 1 value proposition. Doing the exact same thing, but doing it in half the time. It doesn't have to be complex. Like I said, our natural instinct is to keep adding. And at the end of the day, what we end up having is a product or service that has so many different things that nobody truly knows what it is. This, in my opinion, is the exact same thing what's wrong with the modern democracy nowadays, with everybody having their say. We keep adding features, or in this case laws, on top of the existing ones, and what we end up having is something that is not stable anymore. There's too much bureaucracy, there's too many restrictions, there's too many rules on top of each other. Instead of adding something, we should get rid of those restrictions, those laws, and those rules that everybody is so tired of. The same thing with business. Simplifying our life, simplifying our product portfolio is super, super hard. How can I make it more simple? How can I reduce friction? This should be one of our number 1 priorities on a daily basis when we are designing products and turning those products into offers, and then offers into something that actually attracts a lot of customers, meaning converting our leads into paying customers. In the second part of the video, I want to go deeper into one of my clients' cases and telling you guys how we are applying these 4 principles that we just covered. Number 1, talk to your customers to solve basically any problem. Number 2, proof over promise always. Number 3, sell the vacation, not the trip. And number 4, simplify. These 4 principles. So how are we applying those principles in my client's case? Couple of highlights about the clients. So it's a software as a service business. They have a very narrow niche. They have been able to identify that part of the segment or part of the market that serves them well. There's very little competition. They have a good quality product. They have excellent feedback from the existing customers, and they have plenty of features that the customers have asked from them. What are the problems? Like I said, they have trouble turning leads into customers, and they have probably overdone the product a little bit by listening to the customers too much, making it relatively hard to sell to new customers in that same segment or in a nearby segment that is very close to the original one. Looking at these solutions here, or the principles 1, 2, 3, and 4, what are the solutions that we came up with as part of this process? Number 1, we wanted to highlight the vacation and not the features. If we looked at all the training material, all the sales material, and all the offers and everything that the company has produced, it's very feature rich, feature heavy. So the trip and the details regarding the trip are highlighted, but not the final outcome, not the benefit and not the vacation. So the first thing we are doing is that we redo the marketing material to highlight the benefits. And then, so that we wouldn't be just selling empty promises, one of the most crucial actions here, which is number 2, is that we talk to the customers. Coming to the bullet number 1 here, talk to customers and ask what the benefits are. Ask about the benefits. Because we don't really know. And the idea here is that once we have talked to our customers and see, can you please highlight, do you have data available as far as how much your productivity has increased as a result of our product compared to the competition, which is clearly inferior? And then using that data, we create proof that we again use in selling the vacation, not the features. So once we have the data, we don't have to highlight the features that much anymore because we have the productivity. We know how nice the Maui vacation looks like. So we have the benefit much more tangible in our hands. And then as a result, we can simplify the offer as well. So we talk to customers and ask about the benefits. And then surprise, surprise, guess what the customers say? Well, we don't really know. We haven't really quantified that data. We don't really have any metrics available, which is going to be always the standard answer. Then you can do 2 things. You can keep digging, ask it in a different way, and maybe you get a little bit. But then ultimately what we have decided to do is, guess what? When we have the next onboarding process going on, a new client coming in, we actually go and do it ourselves. We go and sit next to that customer, say, okay, can I be here for 2 or 3 days straight? Yes, one resource is going to travel and sit next to that buyer or the person using the software for the first couple of days and collecting all the data. Can I see what you're doing with the old system versus what we just sold you? And then we manually, if that's what it takes, then that's how we do it. That's how we collect the data. We do it ourselves. We do it ourselves. Sorry about the bad handwriting here at the bottom. It gets kind of tight. So very tactical, something that everybody can do. There's no rocket science involved here. Understanding what the 4 principles are and how we can apply these into different situations, into different businesses. In this particular case, the software, the SaaS business. So we first of all simplify the marketing material. We talk to customers and collect feedback. If we don't get what we need, then we go and do it ourselves. And that ultimately turns to our offer, and then our offer is much more compelling because it highlights the vacation and not just the features or the trip details, and then that way, with better marketing material, better offer, we can turn those leads into paying customers. So the conversion rate goes up. That's how we make money, and that's why we grow the business. That's all I had today regarding sales and how to turn your leads into paying customers. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like and the subscribe buttons. I would highly appreciate that. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye.